What if I told you that God actually notices every single sparrow, every flutter of its wings, every fall from its branch, not in some poetic, feel good, metaphorical sense, but literally? Sounds absurd, right? Especially when we can barely keep up with notifications on our phones. So, does God's attention extend to the most minuscule details of creation? And if so, what does that mean for us? Let's find out. I'm Theology Jack, your guide in exploring life's questions and mysteries. Jesus once dropped a line that's either the most comforting thing ever said or the most baffling. He said, "Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside of your Father's care." Over in Matthew 10. On the surface, it's this heartwarming hallmark moment. God cares for sparrows. And hey, you're worth more than a sparrow. But take it literally for a second. We're talking about a God who allegedly keeps tabs on every single bird in the world. That's 400 billion sparrows worldwide, give or take, depending on the migration season. So the question is, does God really care about every sparrow? And by extension, does God really care about you, me, and the 8 billion humans scrolling through existential TikToks? Because if he does, that's mind-blowing. And if he doesn't, well, that opens up a whole different conversation about the nature of divine attention and care. Let's start with the obvious. How could God possibly care about every sparrow? The sheer logistics of it just feels ridiculous to me. Imagine tracking just one sparrow's life, where it eats, where it sleeps, where it crashes into your kitchen window. Now multiply that by 400 billion sparrows. Add in all the other birds, throw in 8 billion humans, and sprinkle in all the ants, amoebas, and microbes just doing their thing. I think it's tempting to write off Jesus' statement as hyperbole, just a poetic flourish to make us feel all warm and fuzzy. But what if it's not? What if God actually has the capacity to care for the tiniest details in creation? And here's the kicker. From an open and relational theology perspective, God doesn't care in some cold, mechanistic way like an all-seeing cosmic security camera. Instead, God's attention is relational, like the way a parent notices a child. This isn't just about divine omniscience. It's about divine intimacy. God isn't obsessively tracking sparrows out of boredom. He's engaged with them because they matter. The Bible's full of tiny, overlooked things that turn out to be ridiculously important. A mustard seed becomes the symbol of faith. A widow's 2 coins are worth more than a rich man's fortune. God creates the entire universe and then rests. Sparrows are a prime example of this theology of the small. In the ancient world, sparrows were worthless. A cheap snack sold at the marketplace, like popcorn at a dollar theater. Is there such a thing? Jesus' audience would have known this. So when he says God cares about the sparrows, he's saying, if God cares about something so insignificant, imagine how he cares about you. But let's not rush to anthropocentric conclusions. Jesus isn't saying sparrows matter only to illustrate our value. He's saying sparrows matter because they matter. Their existence is woven into the divine story, not as props for humanity's benefit, but as an inherently valuable part of creation. And here's the mind-blowing part. If sparrows matter, then everything matters. Every leaf that falls, every wave that breaks, every neuron firing in your brain as you watch this video, it all exists within the scope of divine care. Okay, let's address the elephant, or maybe the sparrow in the room. If God really cares about every sparrow, why does anything bad ever happen to them? Why do sparrows fall? Why do humans suffer? And the world often feels like it's spiraling out of control. And this is where open and relational theism gives us a fresh perspective. God's care doesn't mean micromanagement. God isn't a divine puppet master pulling the strings to ensure that every sparrow lives a perfect life. Instead, God works relationally, inviting creation into a dynamic partnership of love and freedom. In this view, when a sparrow falls, God's heart breaks. Not because he failed to intervene, but because the world is inherently risky. Freedom means sparrows will fall, predators will hunt, and yes, humans will suffer. But God is present in every moment, not as a distant observer, but as a co-sufferer, deeply invested in the flourishing of creation. It's the difference between a parent who tries to control every aspect of their child's life and a parent who walks with their child through the messiness of growing up. One is suffocating. The other is relational. Here's where it gets personal. If God really cares about sparrows, what does that mean for you? First, it means your existence, your life matters, not in some generic all lives matter kind of way, but specifically, God knows your story, your struggles, your quirks, your dreams. You're not a statistic in the vast cosmos. You're a beloved part of it. Second, it challenges us to see how we see the world. It challenges how we see it. If every sparrow matters, then every piece of creation deserves our respect. The environmental crisis, for example, it's not just a political issue, it's a theological one. How we treat the earth reflects how we see God's care for creation. Finally, it means hope. If God notices sparrows, then he notices you. In your darkest moments, when you feel small and insignificant, remember, you're part of a story so vast and intricate that it includes the fall of every sparrow. And yet it's still personal enough to include you. So does God really care about every sparrow? If we take Jesus' words literally, the answer is yes. But it's not just about sparrows. It's about the nature of divine attention. God's care isn't some vague cosmic benevolence. It's personal, relational, and deeply attentive. And if God cares about sparrows, then you can absolutely be certain that he cares about you. Every laugh, every tear, every messy, beautiful moment of your life. Now, the next time you see a sparrow, stop and pay attention. It's not just a bird. It's a reminder that in this vast, chaotic universe, nothing's too small for God to notice, not even you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading everything, and I might even include your question in a future video. And let's keep exploring the big questions, one sparrow at a time. And hey, click like just to be cool. And if you dig this kind of content, hit subscribe. Let's map ideas that can change the world together. Thanks for watching till the end, fellow explorers. Stay curious and embrace the mystery. This is Theology Jack, signing off.